True. First rule of Fight Club is what do you fuck?
En bas, ils sont un peu pulvérisés malheureusement. En haut, un peu plus entière, a priori. Quand tu es comme ça, tu prends tout en haut. Là, on est parti. En morceaux. Tout est pulvérisé. Tout est pulvérisé.
We were given precise coordinates, but we could only see some small debris at first. But from afar it is hard to actually see the place of impact. It is hard to actually see the place of impact.
Now focus is turning to recovering the second black box, the data recorder, and they have a hunch. They believe that that data recorder could be buried. Let's hear what one of the captains heading the recovery efforts had to say about that.
Once all of the body parts are removed, we will rake. We ordered rakes and shovels in order to remove gravel and pieces of soil. Everything will be raked in order to see if it has been buried under the rocks.
Now, when we hiked up to that crash site a few days ago now, it's a very steep-sided gully, and part of that gully is covered with very loose soil and gravel and shale. So it's under there that they're starting to probe to see if they can find a second black box. Of course, there is another possibility that the speed of the impact just pulverized that black box completely. They may never find it, Linda.
They can't even land helicopters at the site. They actually have to lower recovery workers by cable from hovering helicopters.
Yeah, what we understand, there are 2 recovery workers and 1 mountain guide in each team, and we've been able to see pictures of them working there, literally, pulling debris out of the ground, digging in the ground with their hands. But of course, there's a limited number. It's very, very steep, so it is slow. And what we understand from the recovery of the bodies, that could be several weeks. The recovery of all the important parts of aircraft debris could take much longer, because the steepness of the terrain and the fact that the rocks are unstable there.
And the last sound before the moment of impact, the passengers screaming.
Around 10 a.m., the plane takes off from Barcelona. The captain then tells Lubitz he didn't go to the bathroom in Barcelona, and Lubitz replies, "Go anytime." Around 10:27, the plane reaches 38,000 feet, cruising losing altitude. The captain asks Lubitz to prepare for the landing, and after the check, Lubitz repeats, "You can go now." Then the captain is heard getting up and saying, "You can take over." Lubitz, now alone with the door locked, reprograms the autopilot from 38,000 feet to 100 feet, sending the jetliner straight toward the Alps, dropping around 3,000 feet a minute. Air traffic control tries to contact the plane, but receives no answer. An alarm goes off inside the cockpit warning, "Sink rate." Then a loud bang on the door, the captain screaming, "For God's sake, open the door." Passengers are also heard screaming. 5 minutes before impact, more bangs can be heard, metallic noises, as if someone was trying to knock the door down. 90 seconds later, another alarm goes off, warning, "Terrain, pull up." The captain again screams, "Open the damn door." 2 minutes before impact, the paper reports Lubitz can be heard breathing, the plane now only 13,000 feet from the ground. 10:40 a.m., investigators believe they hear the plane's right wing scrape a mountaintop, then screams once more from the 149 on board. Lubitz apparently stays silent.
The sound of Lubitz breathing. 2 minutes later, the scrape of the plane's right wings on a mountaintop, then more passenger screams. The report says those are the last sounds on the recording as the jet goes down and is obliterated. As the jet goes down and is obliterated.
Private twin-engine plane attempting a landing at a New York airport in the murk of dusk crashed into an 800-foot television tower a short distance from the Hudson River. A section of the wing can be seen jammed against the tower. Following the crash, the plane gyrated 7 blocks. The plane gyrated 7 blocks and smashed into an apartment house, sheltering more than 100 persons.
On August the 12th, 1985, Japanese Airlines Flight 123 waited at Tokyo Airport for the evening flight to Osaka. It was a religious holiday. Many were traveling home to be with their families. 509 passengers squeezed aboard the Boeing 747. "13 minutes later, at Tokyo's Air Traffic Control Center, an emergency signal began to flash alongside the plane's image on the screen.
Oh, Tokyo, Japan Air 123, request from immediate travel. Request return back to Haneda. Descend and maintain 220, over. Japan Air 123, confirm your declared emergency. That's right.
The plane lurched helplessly around the sky. The pilots completely mystified what had happened, but unable to let go of the controls to investigate.
But now on control. On control. Roger, understood.
After 32 minutes, the plane gave up the unequal struggle to stay in the air. It went into a dive. One wing clipped a mountain peak, scything through trees. Then it headed straight for the next ridge. "520 people died, the worst single plane crash in history. Remarkably, 4 people survived. One of them was this flight attendant. A 12-year-old girl was found wedged in a tree, still alive nearly a day after the accident.
French recovery crews were back sifting through the debris field, hunting for any clue to explain what brought down the Germanwings Airbus. While they found the casing of the second black box, there was nothing inside. Obliterated by the force of the impact, only tiny fragments of the aircraft are left.
In the grey, stony cleft of a mountain range high in the southern French Alps, rescue workers extract debris and bodies from the crash site of the Germanwings Airbus A320. With the mountainous crash site based at an altitude of 1,500 metres, it's significantly difficult for recovery teams to comb the site for the bodies of victims as well as wreckage. And the isolated valley where the plane disintegrated. Debris is scattered widely on the hillside. Coloured items can be seen strewn across the landscape. Aerial footage shows how the plane was completely pulverised. No part of the plane, as well as bodies, aren't whole.
Did everyone, in your view, die on impact, quickly, suddenly?
Yeah, at this point, it looks as though it was just from the impact at the ground. There's scatter points, there's two scatter points, which would indicate that it hit once and then broke into two. It's the second section, and that second section had a second scatter point.
Les, there are some larger pieces, all right, not many, but what does this picture say to you?
Well, I mean, David could speak a little better to this, but to me, this might be the last impact area of the airplane. This is a spot that obviously didn't take a lot of the substantial damage. You know, this looks like an interior of the fuselage, like David mentioned.
Descending at this rate, 27,000 feet in 8 minutes, what would it felt like to passengers?
Yeah, let's address that because we're using the terminology plunge, and this airplane really didn't plunge, and I think David spoke about it to some degree. It seemed as though this was a controlled descent. When we started...
So sharp, but not terrifying?
No, it wasn't even that. I mean, I've done that rate of descent just at the top of descent to begin our arrival into a particular airport.
Okay.
So the passengers would have felt a slight nose-down attitude. Their ears would have started to sense that they were starting to descend. I don't think they would have sensed anything abnormal. They wouldn't, nothing that would have alarmed them.
Until they saw mountains around them.